How are y'all? On behalf of the State Auditor's Office, I want to thank you for letting us serve you. Over the course of the last 5 years, we have recovered more than $70 million of your money. That's more money than any other 5-year period in the history of the office. We uncovered, told you about it, and put a stop to the largest public fraud scheme in the history of the state of Mississippi with the help of Jody Owens in 2020. And prosecutors working on our cases have yielded hundreds of years of prison time for the defendants that we have investigated over the course of the last 5 years, and yet we're going to keep putting their mugshots online to deter future corruption in the future. I'm proud of the results that we have achieved in the State Auditor's Office, and I want to thank you for letting me serve you. You know, I know everybody reads a lot about the fraud cases that we have in the Auditor's Office, and so this morning what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about the future of the state. You know, when you turn on your TVs right now, you see that we have achieved the lowest unemployment rate in state history. And that's true, and that's an incredible thing. That's an incredible testament to the work that you have done as employers, that state leadership has done. It's an incredible testament to the working people of Mississippi who show up every single day. But when I see that stat, I also think, what's next? What does the future hold? What can we do to move our economy even further in the right direction? Well, I'll tell you, I get the chance to talk to a lot of y'all all year long. I talk to about 1,000 business leaders every year, and I know that because I keep track of it in a little Excel sheet, which is super exciting. And I'll tell you, the number one thing that I ask when I am talking to business leaders is, what is the biggest challenge that you face? Biggest challenge. Anybody want to guess what the most common answer is? Workforce. Almost every time it's workforce. If you're running a restaurant, if you own a trucking company, if you're the managing partner of a CPA firm, if you're CEO of a hospital, workforce. People need help. In fact, that marries up with the data pretty well. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce ranks Mississippi as having one of the more severe labor shortages in the entire country. We have more jobs than we have people. And in fact, you can see it also if you look at our labor force participation rate. So that's the percentage of adults that are either working or looking for work. And our labor force participation rate is lower than every other state in the entire country. We just quite simply have too many adults sitting on the sidelines. We've got to get them off the sidelines. Only about 55% of adults in Mississippi are showing up for work every day or are looking for work. So what do we do? How do we address this? Well, we know if we do address it, everybody's going to do better. Your business is going to be able to grow. Everybody's paychecks are going to go up. Everybody's quality of life is going to improve. So we've got to get serious about solving this, because I think this is the most fundamental issue facing our economy over the course of the next 20 years. And we need serious, smart leaders who can think about this and can put solutions on the table. For my money, reading the research on this, I think that we have to start early in kids' lives. Because if you look at the data, if you grow up in a broken home, for instance, if you don't grow up around two parents, you're 20 times more likely to go to prison. You're 9 times less likely to finish high school. You're 5 times more likely to be in poverty. And look, when I pointed that out, another one of the statewide candidates called me a big old racist, which happens about once a week, unfortunately. Never mind that those stats that I just quoted came from a speech that Barack Obama gave a few years ago. We have to have the courage to identify the issues, the challenges that are facing our state, because only if we identify the challenges are we going to be able to identify the solutions at the end of the day. So what do we need to do? What could help these young people get started off on the right foot? Well, I'll tell you one, we need more mentors in those kids' lives. Take, for example, the JROTC program in Jackson Public Schools. It's a small, highly effective program where you take young people, some of them from broken homes, and you connect them with a retired military service member. And the results that program is achieving are amazing. The kids have almost a 100% high school graduation rate. That's way above their peers. They have an almost 100% school attendance rate, way above their peers. They score on average 2.5 points higher on the ACT. It's changing those kids' lives for the better. And once we put programs into place like that, we got to get those kids in school. We have a 28% absenteeism rate, chronic absenteeism rate. That means almost 1 out of every 3 kids is missing way too much school. And we know, based on the studies of our school system, that the more time a kid spends in front of an adult, keeping them safe, teaching them stuff, the more likely that kid is to succeed later in life. And then, once we get the kids in school, And with mentors, we have to reprioritize how we spend taxpayer dollars to get money into the classroom. If you look at a recent 10-year period, the number of students in Mississippi schools has gone down, the number of teachers has gone down, but the amount of administrative spending that we have shelled out the door has gone up. That's got to stop. We have got to start prioritizing the classroom and teacher salaries. And if we start doing all that, 10, 20 years down the road, we're going to see a huge change in our economy. I'll tell you what else we need to do. You want the secret to staying out of poverty? Brookings Institute has researched this, and we know if a kid graduates from high school, gets a full-time job, or goes to college, and gets married, before having a kid, they are 97% likely to never end up in poverty. I'll say it again. If you finish high school, get a job, or go to college, and get married before having a kid, you are 97% likely to never go into poverty. I think we ought to be pounding that message every single day in our middle schools and high schools. I think if you wake a 10th grader up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. in Mississippi, they ought to be able to quote that statistic back to you. This is the secret, good choices. This is the secret to changing the way our state works, to changing the nature of our workforce, to growing your businesses. And yep, at the end of the day, when some of those kids go off to college, we need to be smarter about how we're spending our money on higher education. We are desperate for nurses, we are desperate for teachers, we are desperate for electrical engineers. You want to know what we're not desperate for? Anthropologists. I love anthropologists. I think they're neat. We have very, very few job openings for anthropologists in the state of Mississippi, and that's why statistically, most of those students with that degree leave here. And yet, we spend the same amount to educate an anthropology major, taxpayers do, as we do an electrical engineer. That makes no sense at all. That makes no sense. We have to be smarter about how we spend our taxpayer money. And if we're smarter about how we spend our taxpayer money, we're going to see our economy dramatically change over the course of the next 20 years. We're going to be able to achieve all the things that we want to achieve. The question in front of us right now is, Mississippi's doing well, we've got a ton of momentum. What does the future hold? Who are we going to put in charge to make sure that our future is bright? That's the question before us. Thank you so much. It's good to see you.